There are many methods that are used to factorize difference of two squares. However, I have decided to come up with my own method to factorize difference of two squares. I mainly did that because I realized that a lot of students were struggling with using the normal methods that are used to factorize difference of two squares. So I've come up with something which I believe it should be fairly simpler for you, fairly easier for you to understand how we really factorize the difference of two squares. Now, let's take, for example, an expression like this: x squared minus 9. So that's an example of difference of two squares. Now, firstly, look at this expression. Firstly, it is a quadratic expression. It is a quadratic expression because we have a power here in the first term. And then look at this expression again. It has only two terms as in this first term and that second term. So for you to use this method that I'm going to show you, you should have those conditions for that method to be applicable. Two things. Firstly, you should have a quadratic expression, and secondly, you should have two terms. Now, to factorize this, this is what I do. Firstly, I start off by inserting an equal sign here and put a 0 there. I start off by putting an equal sign there, and then I put a 0 after the equal sign. Then the next thing that follows is I take this number, I take it on the other side of the equal sign. And we know that mathematically, if you take a number and you are taking it to the other side of the equal sign, the sign changes. So which means our expression now is going to reduce to x squared is equals to 9. The negative 9 is now going to become positive. Then the next thing that follows is take the square root of all your terms. Take the square root for the term on your left and take the square root for the term on your right. And square root of x squared is x and a negative x. The reason why we have two answers is because whenever you take a square root, the square root of any number, any variable, it should give you two answers. Because if you take x squared and square it, you're going to get x squared. And then if you take negative x and raise it to the power 2, you are still going to get a positive x squared. So that is why you have two answers, because a quadratic expression or a quadratic equation always gives two answers. The other one is positive, the other one is negative. Now, what is the square root of 9? Square root of 9 is 3 and negative 3. Remember what I just said. Square root of a number gives two solutions all the time. The other one is positive and the other one is negative. Now, go back to what you have on your left. Go back to what you have on your left. What is negative on your left? So you are going to ignore anything that is negative that is on your left. Then you are going to open two sets of brackets. And then in those two sets of brackets, you are going to insert this x, or the number that will be heavy on your left. You are going to insert it twice in your brackets. Then after that, you are going to take both your numbers that you have on your right, and you are going to insert them inside the brackets. So plus 3 there, minus 3, and then you are done. So it means your final answer is x plus 3, x minus 3. And your brackets should be that adjacent, very adjacent to each other, to show that you are multiplying both brackets. So basically that's how you do it. That's my method. That's the easier method I have devised. I hope it becomes easier for you as well. So let's take another example. X squared minus 60. I'm saying the first thing that happens, insert a 0 here, then take the negative number that side. You are taking it that side so that it can become positive. So which means our expression now becomes x squared is equals to 60. Then the next thing that happens is I said, now take the square root on both sides. Then I said, the square root of x squared is going to give us an x, and it's going to give us a negative x. Two solutions. And the square root of 16, it is going to give us a 4 and a negative 4. Then I said, go back to what you have on your left. Go back to what you have on your left and go back to what is negative. Go back to what is negative, that is on your left. So you are going to ignore that. Ignore that. Then from there, open 2 sets of brackets. And then take the positive term, that is that side, and insert it twice in your brackets. Then from there, take your 2 numbers on your right and insert them in your brackets. And then that's your final answer there. Now, if we can look at this example that I was doing, the coefficient of x squared is 1, together with the previous example that I did. The coefficient of x squared is 1, but it's not always the case. It's not always the case. So now I'm going to do another example where now the coefficient of x squared is not 1. So let's take, for example, 25x squared minus 100. So what do we do in this case when the coefficient of x squared is not equals to 1? The first thing is the same. We insert a 0, then we take our 100 that side so that the 100 can become positive. Then we now have 25x squared is equals to 100. Now, look at the coefficient of x squared. Look carefully at the coefficient of x squared and see if that coefficient, is it able for you to take the square root of that coefficient and still get a whole number? I'll repeat that. Look at the coefficient of x squared and check if that coefficient, if you're going to take the square root of that coefficient, are you going to get a whole number? Then if you're going to go, if you're going to get a whole number, then go ahead and insert your square root sign. And then remember what you do on your left, you do on your right. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of x squared is x. So it means this side you have 5x and negative 5x. Then you move on to your right. Square root of 100 is a 10 and a negative 10. Then go back to what you have on your left again. Then concentrate on what is negative. Then we said ignore what is negative, that side. Then open up two sets of brackets, take what is positive on your left, insert it twice, or insert it in both your brackets. Then take everything that is on your right and put it inside your brackets. So that's your final answer. So you do that for every question. The concept is the same, like I always say, but the question is different. The concept is the same, but questions are different. And from just one concept, you can have a million questions being asked from just that one concept. So let's do another example. Let's take 6x squared minus 216. The first step is always the same. You put a 0 there. Then you take your negative number, you take it the other side so that it becomes positive. So it means now we have 6x squared is equals to 216. Then you do the same thing. Go back and look at the coefficient of x squared. Go back and look at the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared is 6. Now look at that coefficient and ask yourself, if I take the square root of 6, will I get a positive? Will I get a whole number? If I take the square root of 6, will I get a whole number? The answer will be no. You are not going to get a whole number when you take the square root of 6. Then, if that's the case, you are then going to divide your term by 6, and then you're going to do that both sides. And then this 6 will cancel that 6, so it means this side you are left with x squared. Then this side you now have 216 divided by 6. 216 divided by 6, we get 36. Then you do the same thing that we have been doing. Now you have a coefficient of 1. So you can take the square root of everything there. The square root of x squared is x and negative x. Square root of 36 is 6 and negative 6. Then we do the same thing. What is negative on your left, we ignore it. What is negative on the left, we ignore it. Then the next thing that happens is we now open brackets. We open two sets of brackets. And then we insert what we have on the left, which is x, and we do that in both brackets. Then from there, we take whatever we have on our right, and then we insert it inside the brackets. Then the next step, which is very important, which you should not forget, is here we divided by 6. We divided by 6. So which means the last step, you have to multiply your answer by that 6. So you multiply the final answer that you get by the number that you were dividing with. So you don't have to leave that. So after dividing by that number, don't throw it away. Don't throw it away. Keep it somewhere at the back of your head and know that, okay, even though I'm dividing with this number, but whenever I'm done working out my problem, it means I'm going to multiply the final answer by that number. Then let's look at the next example again. Now, this one, I will rewrite it differently. 98 minus 2x squared. I think you can see the difference. The difference is now my quadratic term, I've written it on the right. And then my constant is on my left. But however, the concept is still the same. The concept is still the same. I'm going to start off by inserting a 0 here. And then I'm going to take everything that is negative. I'm going to take it that side. So which means now I have 98 is equals to 2x squared. Then you do the same thing. You go to the coefficient of x squared. Go to the coefficient of x squared, which is 2. Ask yourself the same questions that we've been asking ourselves. It's if you take the square root of 2, are you going to get a whole number? If you take the square root of 2, are you going to get a whole number? And the answer is no. Then I said, if the answer is no, it means now you have to now divide by 2. Divide everything by 2. And we do that both sides. So 98 divided by 2 gives us a 49. Then 2x squared, I mean, this 2 will just cancel this 2. So it means we are left with an x squared there. Then we do the same thing. We take the square root of both our numbers. Square root of 49, it's a 7 and a negative 7. Square root of x squared is x and negative x. Then we do the same thing. What is negative this side, we ignore. Then we are going to then open 2 sets of brackets and insert what we have. On our left, we have a 7. So we're going to put 7 both sides. Then everything that is on our right, we are going to then insert it there. Then lastly, we are bringing back that 2 that we're dividing with. Because remember I said, after dividing, you don't throw away your number. Just keep it somewhere at the back of your head and know that you are going to use it after you get your final answer. You are going to multiply your final answer with that number that you were dividing with. I hope it makes sense. Then I'll do the last example. 81 minus 4x squared. The first step is always the same. Insert equal sign and then insert your 0. Then take the negative term on the other side of the equal sign. So it means then we have 81 equals 4x squared. Then you do the same thing. Look at the coefficient of x squared. Look at the coefficient of x squared, which is 4. So ask yourself the same question. If you take the square root of 4, are you going to get a whole number? The answer is yes. If you take the square root of 4, you're going to get a whole number. Then if that's the case, go ahead and insert your square root sign. So square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 81 is a 9 and a negative 9. Square root of 4 squared is 2x and a negative 2x. Then you do the same thing that I said we do. What is negative on our left, we ignore it, so cancel it out. Then open 2 sets of brackets. Insert what is positive there, insert it twice. Then take whatever you have on your right and then insert it inside your brackets. And that's it.